Guys, Mr. Bowman here. Well done on finishing your test. This here is a video just going through the answers. The really important part is, as you're watching this video, make sure you pause and update for any questions or issues that you may have come around. Really important, ask your mates and ask your questions as well. I suppose let's just dive straight into the questions. So we're going to scroll down. That's the marking schedule. We'll get down to that in a little bit. But question 1, for each sequence below, write the next two numbers in the sequence. So what you are asked to do here is to identify the patterns or the first difference. So to go from that 4 to 7, you would have had to go on +3, and the same with that 10. So that confirms the pattern of increasing threes. So we're then just going to carry that on. So 13 will go to 16 when we add to 3. 16 will go to 19 when we add a 3. If you got that right, you're kind of given a bit of a tick. We then had to carry on, do the same thing for B. So 1 to 9, we had to go to +8. 9 to 17, plus another 8. So we've got the same number coming up twice, means it's a linear pattern. Let's carry that on. 25 plus 8 gets us to 33. 33 plus 8 gets us to 41. And then again, you're given another tick if you got that. Same thing for the next lot of questions. 20 to 14, that there is a -6. 14 to 8, also a -6. That confirms our pattern. So we're going to go 2 minus 6 gets us to -4. And then -4 minus 6 gets us to -10. That's our third tick there. If you got 3 correct, that was awarded an achieved mark. If you got 2 extra, so 5 in total, you were given a merit mark. So let's get into some of the harder questions. So we now got some decimals, 1 to 2.5. That there was an addition of 1.5. Same from 2.5 to 4. So that confirms our pattern. We're going to add 4 or add 1.5 every time. So 5.5 plus 1.5 is 7. 7 plus 1.5 is 8.5. And that there would have been your fourth tick. One more to get merit. These ones were a bit trickier. 2 to 3 was +2. 5 to 8 was +3. And this was the first time where these differences or these numbers were different. And we have a look. 8 to 12 is +4. And what we can see is that pattern is increasing by every time. So I need to add 5 for the next one, which will get me to 17. I then need to add 6 for the one after that. That gets me to 23. So well done if you got that. That was your fifth tick. That was enough to get merit. We had a nice, really tricky one at the end. And I think the trick for this question was convert it to a decimal. So 1 over 10 was 0.1. 1 over 5 is 0.2. 3 over 10 is 0.3. And then 2 over 5 is 0.5. So that means the next ones are going to be, the other one was 0.5, but that's 0.5 here, and that there's 0.6. Some of us did really well and put them into fraction form, so that could have been 1 over 2, could have been 5 over 10 as well. And this last one here was 3 over 5. A few of us did write 6 out of 10 as well, but no matter what combination of decimals or fractions you got, if you did get that right, you would have given yourself a tick. So well done. Just a reminder, 3 of them were achieved, 5 of them was merit. So you did need to get one of the tricky ones, the E or F, to make sure you get that merit mark. Okay, so we're moving down onto question 2. Find, or a relationship can be represented by 2x plus 1. So that's our equation. And part A, using the table, or using the given equation, complete the table below. And what we're here, what we've been asked to do is we've been asked to substitute. So currently we've got 2x plus 1. We've been told what x is over here on the right. And what we're going to do is we're going to go 2 times 0. That's this first part here. We've taken away the x, put in the 0, and then we're going to go plus 1. That there gets us to 1. We then need to do the same for the next one. So that's going to be 2 times 1 plus 1. That there's going to be equal to 3. 2 times 2 plus 1. That there's equal to 5. 2 times 3 plus 1. Here we've got 7. And then 2 times 4 plus 1. That gets us to 9. And what you'll actually see is the pattern is increasing by 2 every time, so you probably could have calculated the first one and then just added 2 every time per the gradient. So if you got all of those correct, so all correct, you were awarded an achieved mark. So well done if you got that. We've now been asked to plot the graph. And this is here we're going to use the x and the y values. So the first part here, we were told x is 0, y is 1. So we're going to start off at x is 0 down the bottom, and we're going to move up to 1. So there's our first point. We've now got x is 1, y is 3. So we find y down the bottom, or 1 down the bottom, and then we go up to 3. And then x is 2, y is 5. There's 2, and we're going to go up to 5. And then we've got x is 3, and now we're going to go all the way up to 7. And then x is 4, we're going to go all the way up to 9. You didn't need to connect the line, but if you drew all points correct, you were given an achieved mark there. Your teacher might have given it to you if you showed enough skills and maybe you only got 1 point slightly wrong. But you did need all them. You didn't need to connect it with a line because you asked to plot, not draw, but some of us connected it with a line, and that was awesome as well. So there's question 2, done with that. We're now on to question 3. For each of the below, state the gradient. And that gradient's a really important word in the topics that we've looked at. That is the rate of change. So how much is something changing by? And we've got a table over here, an equation over here. Oh, sorry, that was a graph over there. A table over here, and we've got a sequence over here. Even though they look very different, all of these have change, all of these have a gradient. So we've been asked to calculate them. So the gradient for A, which is the graph, what I asked my class to do is I asked them to find 2 points. You can see how that perfectly goes through the quarters, or the corners. I find 2 points. We then figure out how much it rises. So using the formula rise over run, it rises 3 units and it goes across 1 unit, which means my gradient is going to be 3. Question B, we've got the equation form. I'll just jot something down. Y equals mx plus c. That is the general equation for the graph that we're looking at. And the m value here, that there stands for the gradient, which means the number sitting in front of the x is the gradient. So negative 0.25. A few of us might have written negative 1/4. Both would have given you your marks for that. So you would have got a tick for the first and a tick for the second if you did those. Tables, they're nice and easy to figure out. So how do we get from 5 to 7? That's +2. 7 to 9, another +2, and then another +2. And we can see that same +2 coming up. That 2 is the gradient. If you got that, you got yourself a big tick. And the last one, we got 5 to 6.5. Well, that's going plus 1.5. 6.5 to 8, also plus 1.5. So that 1.5 is the gradient. A few of us wrote it as a fraction as well, 3/2. But no matter what you did get yourself a mark. To get an achieved mark, you needed to get 2 out of the 4 correct. And if you're wanting that merit mark, you would have had to get all 4 correct. So well done if you got that. Gradient is something really, really important. You need to know that all the way up to year 13. So hopefully it's something you've got a good understanding of. We're up to question 4 now. And this was one of the 2 excellence questions. And you didn't need to do too much here, but there were some tricks that would have helped you get through it. So the first one I'm going to look at is I'm actually going to look at these first 2 equations together. And I can see we've got -1 and -1. So if you have a look on our graph, we go down to -1. We can see that over here. Both of those lines go through -1. So those 2 lines we're looking at the top here, they have to be these 2 lines. We then have a look at the gradients. We can see the red line is going upwards, which means that has a positive gradient. The green line is going downwards, which means that has a negative gradient. So we need to look here, positive gradient, negative gradient. So that tells us which way around it is. So the graph number 4 is going down, which means that will be negative. So that has to be graph number 4. And graph number 2 is going upwards, So that means that has to be the positive one. So there's number 2. We then do the same for equation number 3, also the next ones, 3 and 4, plus 3 and plus 3. And if we go up here, I've already got a dot there, but plus 3 are the y-intercepts. We then have a look. We can see one's going upwards again, one's going downwards again. So the downward one is 6, so that has to be negative. That's over there. And the upward one is 5, so we're going to put a 5 over there. The next 2 are the nice easy ones, plus 1, and we can see a graph, that green one going through plus 1. So that graph there, graph number 3, has to go over here. And then we've got minus 2x, and we can see there's no number. There's like a plus 0 here, which would be that purple graph. It goes through there, and it's going downwards, which has a negative gradient, which confirms that plus, or that minus 2. That means the bottom one there had to be number 1. So there was a lot going on. You didn't need to come up with the equations necessarily, but if you had a really good understanding of that equation, y equals mx plus c, you are very quickly able to rattle through all those questions. I'll explain how the marking was worked. So if, for achieved, you needed to get 2 of the graphs correctly identified. To get merit, you would have had to get 4 out of 6, and then really well done if you did get this, but 6 out of 6 needed, and you would have got that excellence mark. So that's question 4 done. Let's have a scroll down. We're now on to the Brock question. So Brock Harrison from Pewter City has been arranging Pokeballs into patterns. He's asked your help to use maths to analyze the patterns he has created. With reference to the patterns, answer the following questions. So there's Brock, and there's his patterns. We've got pattern number 1, pattern number 2, pattern number 3. Okay, and now we're going to scroll down. First question, complete the table below. So pattern number 1, he had 1, 2, 3 Pokeballs, so we're going to put a 3 over there. Pattern number 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Pokeballs. There's 6. And then pattern number 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. 9 Pokeballs. So the only real errors I saw on this one is those of us who just miscounted slightly. It happens, but unfortunately it did have a big impact on the question. And what we can see is every pattern, Brock has to add 3 of those Pokeballs. So if we carry that on, 9 plus 3 gets us to 12. 12 plus 3 gets us to 15. If you got everything correct in that table, you are awarded an achieved mark. We were then asked to determine a rule which describes the number of Pokeballs in each pattern. So the way our rules work is the gradient, that there is going to be 3n, and we then normally have to go back 1 to find out the start value, or the n equals 0 value, but that there would have been 0. So you could have written plus 0 here, but mathematically we try to ignore the plus zeros. If you told me 3n was the rule, you were awarded an achieved mark. Brock wants to create the 10th pattern. How many Pokeballs does he need? So here, that's telling us that n is equal to 10. So we're going to go 3 times 10, and that times 10 is the n from the previous question. That's going to be equal to 30 Pokeballs. If you told me 30, you got an achieved. And then finally, what pattern number would require 63 Pokeballs? There's a few different ways to do this, but I would have done it algebraically. So I would have gone 63 equals 3n. I then would have gone divide by 3, n equals the 21st pattern. Doesn't matter which way you did it. As long as you told me the 21st pattern, you would have got yourself a merit mark. So nice, well done if you got that. We are ripping through these questions. We're nearing the end of it. We've only got 2 pages left, including the final excellence question. So we're now on question 6. On your birthday, your grandparents have given you $100 towards the Nintendo Switch. The grey console costs $550 at EB Games, and there's a photo of our console. From your pocket money, you can save $25 per week. So notice something I do is during the wordy questions, I'm actually always underlining the words or the key numbers for me. That'll just help me later on. Helps me get the information out. So question A, after 5 weeks, how much money would you have saved? The way I probably would have done this, I probably would have done it via table. I would have gone weeks and then savings. Probably just would have done a mini table. Currently, so I write current, I had $100. After week 1, I would have $25 extra. And then after week 2, some more money. 3, 175, 4, 200, and then 5, 225. And that would have got me my answer of 225. You also could have done 100 plus 25 times 5. That also would have got you to the 225 answer. Doesn't matter how you did it. You would have been awarded an achieve mark if you got me 225. In terms of W, so this is question B. In terms of W for weeks and the S for the amount saved, form an equation which represents the savings that we've got. And this here, how I probably would have done it, I probably would have started my generic equation. So we looked at this before, y equals mx plus c. The y value and the x value are what we can do first. The x value is the variable that goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you look at your table, that was the x's, or that was the number of weeks. And then the other one is y, which would have been S for savings. That means our equation, if we did that, would have been S equals MW plus C. We then just got to figure out the M and the C. And we can see the gradient is going plus 25 each time, which means the gradient would have been equal to 25. And if we went back 1, we would have been at 75 or 100. Oh, sorry. No, we don't need to go back 1. Actually, we've already got the back 1 number. That current number is where he started with. So that was 100. So that tells us C is equal to 100. So that means S would have been equal to 25W plus 100. If you got that, you were given a merit mark. If you had some kind of version with maybe you missed out the S or the W or put the wrong letters by mistake, you might have been given the mark. Your teacher might have given you achieved as well. But that's up to your teacher and how they think they went on the rest of your test. So there's question number 5. And then the last question, C. After how many weeks would you be able to afford the Nintendo Switch? And again, I'm going to be going into some algebra to find this. So 550, that was the total cost. So when is that equal to 25W plus 100? And we're going to start solving this by going minus 100, minus 100. So 450 equals 25W. We're then going to do divide by 25, and that there, 18 equals W. So that means it would have taken us 18 weeks to solve this, or to save up for that Nintendo Switch that we're aiming for. If you told me 18 weeks, you got a merit. You could have got that answer with other things. You might have extended the table down heaps above. But as long as you got me 18, your teacher hopefully gave you the marks. You might have needed to show some working as well. So there was the Nintendo Switch question. We're now moving on to question 7. Misty Williams from the Cerulean Gym is out catching water Pokemon for the Cerulean City Gym. She records the number of Pokemon she catches each day. And we've got a table that represents that. By exploring the first differences, complete the table given. So this question was fairly similar to the one in the pattern section, so we might have had a bit of a heads up about it. But first pattern, or first difference, there's a +1. There's a +2, that gets us from 3 to 5. 5 to 8 is +3. 8 to 12 is +4. And the next one, +5, would get us to 17. So if you got us all these with some kind of reference to the differences, you were given an achieved mark. We were then asked, on what day would Misty catch 47 Pokemon? Well, we're going to have to carry this table on. So on the 7th day, she would have got 23, and that was a +6. We then have to go +7. That means on the 8th day, she would have had 30, and then plus another 8. On the 9th day, she would have had 37. And then finally, we would have had a +9. Oh gosh, sorry, that last one should have been 38. There you go. To get us to 47, which would have been the 10th day. So, 10th day. If you're able to get that with a bit of working to support your answer, you would have got a merit. If your teacher didn't think you showed enough working, they might have given you an achieved mark for that. So there's question 7 done. And the last question, this was about some of the guys from the hockey team. So I'm not sure if you know these guys, but these people actually go to our school. So Jordan, Aaron, and Mats, they are all on the same team. They're Year 9 development team, which is doing really, really well this year. So shout out to everyone on that team. So 3 friends, Aaron, Jordan, and Mats, are in the same hockey team. After training, they discuss their savings and spending. Aaron says he currently has $512 and he's going to spend half of his money each week. Jordan has $50 and he's going to save $39 per week. And Mats has $120 and he's saving $25 per week. So the way I would start, I'd probably fill out the current part of the table first. We were told Aaron has $512. We were told Jordan has $50. And Matt said he had $120. I'll then fill out the rest of the table. I'll go downwards for each of these students. Aaron is spending half of his money every week. So what we need to do, halving is the same as divide by 2. So we need to go divide by 2. 512 divided by 2. That means Aaron has $256 left. We then need to do the same thing. We need to keep dividing by 2. Divide by 2. Now he's got 128. Divide by 2 again. Now he's got 64. And then he would have had 32, 16, and 8 as well. So Aaron is spending a lot of money real quickly. We're then moving on to Jordan. Jordan has $50 and he's saving $38 per week. So we're just going to keep adding 38. So if we plus 38, that will get him to 89. If we plus another 39, that will get us to 128. Plus another 39, that gets us to 167. And we repeat this process, but there's 206, 245, and 284. And finally, we got Mats. He's starting off with 120. He's adding 25 every week. He's going to get $145 here, 170, and now he's got 195, 220, 245, and then finally 270. So we filled out the table. We now need to scroll down. We don't actually know what the question is yet, but we filled out the table. So using the above table, so we've done that, filled that out. Explain if any of the friends have the same amount of money at the same point in time. If any of the friends have the same amount of money, we need to state the friends, the week number, and how much money that they have. So this question, once you got the table, it was actually fairly straightforward. Let's change to the highlighter mode. So what we can see is, there you go, Aaron and Jordan, they both have $128. So that's really good. That's one combination of numbers. And there was actually a bit of a trick. There was 2, Jordan and Mats. They also had the same amount of money down there. So a few people, unfortunately, from the class I marked, did miss the one up the top. And I'm sure that was common across all the classes as well. But there were 2 answers for this. So answer number 1. So Aaron and Jordan both have $128 in week 2. And then the second one, now we're dealing with Jordan and Mats. Both have $245, $245 in week 5. There you go. So if you achieved, if you got one of the rows correct or one of the columns above correct, so one correct column, your teacher would have given you an achieve mark, even if you didn't answer the question. For merit, if you got one of the 2 options correct, you were given your merit mark. And if you had both options, with 100% correct table, you were given that elusive E mark. There you go. So that wraps up our video. So we've gone through so much in this test. So scrolling up, make sure you ask your questions. Make sure you get down anything that you might have missed, just so we are aware. If you got, also the minimum you needed to do, you needed 5 achieves to pass overall. Then if you got 3 merit marks, you were given merit. And if you got 1 E to add on to that, you were given excellence. If you didn't quite meet the merit benchmark, your teacher then looked if you got any of the high merit or high excellence grades. And then down the end, if you didn't quite meet that 5 background or the 5 achieved questions mark, no big dramas, but it's something we do need to look forward to and study quite a bit for our exam, because it's going to play a big important role of our end of year exam as well. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Hopefully you find these videos where I go over the test useful. Now let's get into some algebra revision, which we're starting up next.